Okay, today what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to take a camera into After Effects and we're going to take a look at some words three-dimensionally. The cool thing with this is it's going to help us to start to build up to our next project that we'll be accomplishing. So here we go, we're going to hit a new composition. We'll say, hey, that looks good to me. And we'll start with our black palette. The first thing I like to do is put in a new layer by going right-click, New, Solid. And for the color, I'll just pick a nice black. We'll do black on white, just to keep it nice and simple. Next thing we're going to insert is new text layer. There's other ways you can put text in. You can just go up to the toolbar, but you can also right-click. So here is where we'll put a bit of text. We'll put the abbreviation for Mr. We'll put MR. And as is usual, you can adjust the size and such. What we are going to do with this, though, is we're going to transform it from a two-dimensional object into a three-dimensional object. So we're going to display something that is two-dimensional in three-dimensional space. We're going to do that by clicking this box here. And it adds the third axis to the X and the Y. It adds the Z axis. That's how close or far away something is on a coordinate plane. Ooh, big words. What I am going to do is, first of all, and you'll see the reason why later, is that right now it is on 0. That means at the null point for the coordinate plane. I'm going to take and I'm going to push it back just a little bit. Give it some distance back. Okay? You will see why in a moment. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put on my next text layer. So I'm going to go new, I'm going to go text. And on this text layer, let's just put some random arrangement of letters. I don't know if it really means anything. It's just, random word, really. What we're going to do is we're going to also make this three-dimensional. Now you'll notice that it is, in fact, in front of the Mr. because it is on the 0 plane. What we are going to do is we're going to take and we're going to go to transform, and we're going to knock this to 90 degrees, I think is what we want, not negative 90. I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. That's the Z-axis, 0. And let's go to, I'm actually going to go to rotation on the Y, I believe is the one I want. And we're going to turn it sideways. And we'll bring it a little bit past 90, just so that it's where we want it. Okay. I'm going to move it over just a little bit so it's closer to the Mr. Bring it back on the X rotation so it's a little bit closer to that 90. Okay, so right now we have 3 layers. We have the black, we have the text for the Mr., and then we have the text for Gibson. At this point, rather than putting all of our text on there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the element that is a little bit new and it takes a little bit of time to get used to, but I think you'll pick it up pretty quick. We're going to add a camera. After Effects allows you to take a camera into this three-dimensional world and move it around. So what we're going to do is we're going to go right-click, New, Camera. There's plenty of presets here that you can change, or that you can, or leave the same. I'm just going to leave them the same. It's fine. It's going to be a clear camera. We're not going to worry about like focal length or anything like that, the zoom. We're going to say OK. And right now we have a camera, which is on the top layer. Okay? What we're going to do is to be able to manipulate this around a little bit easier, I find it's better to switch to 2 views. And we're going to change from top view, rather than having a top view, we're going to change that to our front view. And we will have this be camera 1. So right now, camera 1 is where the front camera was. What we're now going to be able to do is go into transform with the camera, and we're going to be able to adjust the position of the camera. So you can see on the right side, camera 1 is the view that we're looking at. And on the window on the left, it is showing the front view. So it's showing what it looks like when it's standing still. The pink box on the left view shows where the camera's line of sight is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position the camera right in the middle of Mr., and I'm actually going to bring the camera in quite a bit on the Z-axis, such that it takes up the entirety of that Mr. What we're now going to do is we're going to turn on our points, turn on our frames. And I find that it's a little bit easier if we just turn in all of them, because you might make adjustments later, and it's better to have the point at the start, and you can then make changes after the fact. So looking at this camera, it takes maybe a second. Let's do 2 seconds on the Mr. What we're going to then do is we're going to change the focus of the camera from Mr. to the next word. The way we're going to do that is we are going to rotate the camera such that we're looking at the Gibson word on there. Okay? So what we have to do is, you'll notice that the camera is looking at Gibson. We have to start to move the camera over. And I find when you're first working with the camera a little bit, it's better to work with the scroll bars, because then you get a little bit used to just manipulating the camera rather than going another way with it. So it takes a little bit, and I'm going to move the camera back until we're able to see Gibson on there fairly well. Yes. And I'm moving the camera back. I don't want to mess with the zoom at this point. So let's just line that word up in the middle. And I'm going to move it back just a slight bit more. And rotate it over just a little bit. Let's get it straight to 90, because it is at a 90-degree angle. And then we'll move it just a little bit over, and boom. What I find, again, is that when you have all the points checked, I go ahead and hit all the points again. So if we watch from the camera 1 perspective, let's go to the left camera just to show you. This is looking at it from the left. This is looking at it from the front. And then let's look from the top. You'll see that the word is a little bit at an angle. Okay, let's go back to front. And actually, let's go to one view, and let's look at camera 1. Let's go ahead and play through our composition and show you what it looks like for this 2 seconds. As we hit the play, it's going to take a second for it to render, but it goes from Mr., it slides over, and it shows you then the Gibson. Okay? What we can do at this point is we could start adding more text layers. So let's go new. Let's go text. Let's add one more. Let's add the word is. Okay? And you'll notice that on camera 1's view, it snaps towards the front. So what we need to do is go in and adjust that such that it is turned more towards the Gibson. What we're using in this case is the rotate tool, and I'm going to suggest we go straight to 90 degrees. At this point, we want to have the is kind of go over the top. So we'll have the camera go from front towards the right and then up. So what we are going to do that is we're going to mess with not the Z rotation, but in fact it is the orientation. And we're going to put our orientation such that it is flat. I'm going to bring my X rotation back to 0. Okay. What we are then going to do is we're going to move that particular item right here, and let's move it up above where our frame is. Okay. Once we have the word positioned where we want it, we can go back to our camera. I find having the camera on top always makes it a little bit more easy to locate. Yes. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come out a couple seconds from Gibson, and we're going to start manipulating our camera again. To manipulate the camera, we are going to mess with orientation first. I'm going to suggest that we start moving our orientation a little bit over, not with the X, but we will go with the Y orientation. Not the Y orientation, it's actually the Z orientation. So we could do something as simple as this, but just to make it all the way thorough, let's go ahead and move our position over a little bit, and then move our orientation such that it's a little further. Orientation over. And finally up a little bit further. Let's just do it all the way over and get a 300. And then back it down just a little bit. Okay, and it takes just a little bit of manipulation on your part. Again, I'm going to go ahead and set points on my other items in case I choose to manipulate them later. So to play through my 4-second clip at this point, it starts off with Mr. It's going to zoom over and show Gibson. It's going to move up to is. Your positioning with your words is then working within 3 dimensions. What I'd like you to do with this is experiment with the camera, kind of get used to the feel of it. I'm hoping that you can put together a short sentence. It doesn't have to be about Mr. Gibson, but that is what your objective is to get used to the idea of manipulating the camera in After Effects. End of screen recording.